Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Lunar Counseling Podcast. I'm your host, Kiara Brown, a licensed professional counselor, EMDR, therapist, certified hypnotherapist, and the owner of Lunar Counseling, specialized in trauma-informed and nervous system-focused care. Today, I am joined by the lovely Lex Hingle, a clinical social worker and yoga teacher whose work centers on embodiment, nervous system awareness, and compassionate presence. Lex integrates evidence-based psychotherapy with mindfulness, somatic, and body-based practices, supporting people in healing trauma in ways that feel safe, relational, and deeply human. Specializes in trauma-informed modalities, including EMDR, shadow work, complex PTSD, and understanding how childhood trauma continues to shape the adult nervous system. Alex approaches healing as a slow, intuitive process rooted in curiosity, empathy, and reconnection to the body. She also recently opened a community-centered healing space in Richmond, Virginia, super cool, on accessibility, collective care, and shared healing, creating space for practitioners, artists, and facilitators to support the community together. So let's dive right in and get to know the amazing Lex. Like that. So just welcome. I'm so excited for you to be here.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here too and sharing this conversation with you.
So I asked everyone, what brought you into the therapy world?
I think, like most helping professionals, I grew up and wanted to understand better relationships in my life and had experiences of trauma that I was curious about learning more. And I have a heart for it. So it it was something that was on my heart, helping others. And I was very much a nerd for psychology. So all of those things together led me here.
So like, cool. So like when you said like her little bit of traumas, obviously you don't have to go as they've all the details, but can you like say a little bit of like how you got through your trauma and what helped you the best?
Yeah, I would say that what helped me best move through my trauma is pretty much a handful of different modalities. I've been in therapy for the better part of my life. So obviously, working with a trained professional is a very important part of the healing process, or has been for me at least. But that coupled with yoga practice, which is very near and dear to my heart, and also journaling practices and things of that nature. So it was a hodgepodge of a lot of different things that helped me.
Or when did you start doing yoga?
I started doing yoga individually, maybe almost 10 years ago now, but I've been a teacher for the last 4 years.
It's like cool. So what was the transition like from being just like the student into becoming like the teacher?
It was COVID times. And it's funny, during COVID, I was like, I feel like I have nothing going on. So I'm going to go back to grad school and I'm going to become a yoga teacher. And that's what I did. There's a teacher that was in my community, Linda Osario, who is a wonderful mentor and teacher to me. And she she was one of my favorite yoga teachers. And I went to her studio. And that was such a huge part of my mental health during COVID times. And she held a teacher training. And so I felt called to learn how to be a teacher. And yoga teacher training is a very transformative, transcendental experience in my experience at least.
You could speak a little bit more about that. What was so transformative for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Aside from just the basic Eastern spirituality aspects and yogic philosophies that you learn about in yoga teacher training, Linda did a really great job of creating a curriculum that asked and invited students to really dive deep into themselves. And there was a lot of very intimate relational work within the teacher training itself. So just sitting with your peers in the training, asking very important questions, being able to listen. So that was an important piece of it too, I think.
Pretty cool. So what was like your biggest takeaway from learning more about yourself through the training?
My biggest takeaway from yoga teacher training, I think as I continue to just grow as an individual on my own healing journey, I think one of the number one lessons is just like, I'm doing an okay job. I don't have to force or push myself to achieve any other accolades, or it's For me, it's been a process of learning how to accept myself exactly as I am, where I am. And I think that was a huge takeaway from the yoga teacher training.
With the just loving you regardless of anything else, just being like, I am who I am, and it's gonna be me in this presence in this space.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's like a huge lesson for like everyone to learn to not even like outside of doing it in yoga, because some people feel like they have to reach a certain level or show people like a certain version of themselves before they can say they have achieved a thing. No, like you can be who you are, and like your experience still matters, regardless of what level you are in life.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if the same rings true in your experience, but I would say just in my work with clients, that's something that I see a lot. Just this propensity to feel like it's never enough and like always needing to themselves. And I feel like my work is always let's appreciate who you are in this moment and really give ourselves some compassion here because it's been a long, hard road and we're okay where we are.
Tell my clients is so many of them put themselves as a footnote in their own stories. Like you cannot be a footnote in your own life. You have to be the main character. Like
I love that.
I'm very much a bibliophile. I always pull out book references so all the times. I'm like always do the footnote thing. And like most of my clients are also bibliophiles, which is awesome.
Yeah. Can I ask what you're reading right now that you're excited about?
Right. So I'm currently reading Rhapsodic. It's by Laura Thalassa. I can't pronounce her last name, but it's for my recommended C book club that I'm in at the local library.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it before. Can you share like the premise of the story?
It's Fae. It's has like a Fae and sirens and werewolves and witches all within it. And
Ooh.
it's really interesting. I'm only about quarter of the way in, so I haven't got to the full meat of it. But the Night King in the Fae world is also called like the Bargainers, and he makes deals with mortals. And the female main character has over 300 IOUs owed to him, and he's like catching them in. So,
Oh, interesting.
like, they're native for cashing them in.
Wow, and that's right up my alley. I'm
Yep.
good. Good.
Yeah.
Cool. And you're part of a book club. That's even better. I love it.
Yeah. So, what do you do for like your like relaxing self care time?
One of the things that I'm wanting to build more in my life in this current season is community. So I've been spending a lot of time trying to build that up. So I like spending time with friends, community members, going to classes and events. But outside of that, yoga, I've just recently gotten back into reading. I loved it as a young girl and kind of lost touch with that. So I've been reading again. So that's been fun. Going outside.
What type of like, activities are you more drawn to, like in your community events?
I love live music and I love art, but I also enjoy just like more community centered events. I'm really interested in there's an organization in town here that does drum circles. I haven't made it out to one, but I'd really like to. That's on my list. In my community space, we've had like cacao ceremonies, we've had full moon circles, we're doing a breathwork event on Saturday. So yeah, things of that nature really excite me right now.
So cool. I have a friend of mine who did my hypnosis training with, who's a shaman, and he leads drum circles and journeys, and just like him talking about like those transformations. This was so cool. You know,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
like I'm not curious about it. I would love to. So I can imagine like the breath work journey that you're gonna go on could give a similar effect, because that's what I've heard at least.
Yeah. Have you ever done breath work?
Not a full retreat like style thing. I've done it slightly in my hypnosis therapy training. We do a little bit of it, but not like a shamanic breath work thing or any other form of breath work. And that's something I would like to learn, but haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah. I don't have extensive experience, but I've done it a couple times and it was really powerful.
Whenever you do it, like what does it feel like in your body?
It feels like, in a way, you're hyperventilating, which probably doesn't sound very appealing. A little bit, it feels like that for me. But each time I've done it, I've noticed this really intense, like emotional sort of upheaval. And it's been very clearing. It's felt very clearing in a way. I don't know the science behind it. Something about the breathing technique that really allows you to get deep with yourself.
Very cool. I mean, probably something to do with activating the vagus nerve because I mean, with everything with EMDR and like all the things, like your vagus nerve is activated, and it's like the biggest thing triggers all that deepness. I feel like because it connects to literally everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm super nerdy for the vagus nerve. But my clients are so tired of hearing about the vagus nerve.
I know I'm on here too. But like, this is letting out like the guys. Your vagus nerve is like connected to everything. You have to do. Have to do it.
It's kind of have to say, if I've already told you this, can you please let me know? Yeah.
So it's on that track. Like, what's like your standard spiel that you get to clients whenever they ask questions about like why something works?
For the vagus nerve in particular.
That or anything else?
Yeah. So I have a background in psychology and I just really, again, really nerdy for the science of everything. I think it helps to hit the point home as far as why these modalities are working. Sometimes people need that like science behind the example or explanation to really buy into it. So I like to share some foundational psychological studies. Like when we're going into attachment theory, I like to share about John Bowlby's work. I like to share about the Rhesus monkeys with a cloth mother and have you heard about that one? Yeah, that the foundational studies I like to go into.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I never like go like that deep with my clients because a lot of them, they look at me like their eyes start glazing over. I'm like, okay, I'm in. That's not an issue. You're never with it. So I give like the very basic gist of this just happens because of X, Y, and Z. And they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of my clients might listen just because they know how much it means to me. Because I get really excited. They probably just allow me to do my spiel.
Yeah. And so I'm going back in a little bit. So you said like you love music. Is there a particular genre that you gravitate towards more than others?
Excuse me, not necessarily. Although I'm really fangirling over Cleo Soul and Salt right now. Have you heard of Cleo Soul?
Haven't. I'm also really bad with knowing band names. So I might have searched for their music. I just don't know that it's kind of
Yeah, no, that's okay. Cleo Soul she's just, let's see, I guess you would describe her as R&B. She's very spiritually focused, very like high vibrational music. So I really connect with that. And then she's a part of a collective called Salt. And again, just really beautifully high energy music. I actually went to see them recently in London and it was an amazing experience. She is married to the producer who they together as a team, I'm sure with other people, just created the most beautiful experience. They had a theater troupe from London come in and act out a whole storyline in between the songs. It was incredible.
phenomenal. Especially at the London, which is so amazing. I'm jealous.
Yeah, it's funny. I
Sorry.
saw them drop the tickets and I bought that before I bought my ticket to London. I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to London.
It's not a reason to go. Like, I was supposed to narrow down the days.
Yeah, and it was so much fun. London was a great time. Loved the people there.
That sounds amazing. The only countries I've been to, well, country is Canada. It was easy. It was for a school trip my senior year of high school. So,
Yeah, Canada's
yeah.
beautiful. Part of Canada.
We went to Quebec and Montreal because it was the other provinces that still speak French. And I went with my French class.
Oh,
And so we were supposed to speak French whenever we were there. have a very rudimentary understanding of the French language. So like they just spoke English to us the whole time, which defeated the purpose, but it's okay.
Cool. I've not been to Montreal or Quebec. I've been to Vancouver Island, like that area, but that sounds cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely on my list.
Really, really beautiful. Like, Quebec was, in my opinion, a little bit prettier than Montreal. Not to say Montreal, it was still really pretty, but Quebec still has the old fashioned architecture and just the buildings were like just so pretty. Quebec is a little bit more, I mean, Montreal is a little bit more modern. So like it still has its own beauty, but I like the older architecture.
Yeah, yeah, I love that too. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely on my list.
Yeah,
Really
definitely
want
be
to go back.
definitely a good place to go to. I was in Vancouver for a hot minute when we went on our cruise, but it's just because we went on an Alaskan cruise and then it was selling out from Vancouver instead of from Alaska. So I was only there
Okay.
for like from the airports walk and we were in Alaska.
Yeah, hey, it still counts. It counts.
But for the bus, it looked really pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool though. So tell me a little bit more about the collective that you've been building, like in your community, in the community thing that you've started.
Yeah, so it's just starting off, but I literally started it maybe last month. It's in its very early stages. Part of the interest to create the space was my desire to build a community for myself. So I, kind of thought if I build it, they'll come. And so that's what I did. And so far, we've had some really beautiful events so far. It's a really cozy space. One of my favorite ones recently was a women's circle we did. I actually hosted it with one of my best girlfriends, whom I met at our first ever women's circle, like 5 or 6 years ago at this point now. So, very much a full circle moment and very beautiful. There is like a safety and comfort that I've felt in women's circle spaces that I've literally never felt anywhere else. I don't know if you've ever attended one, but it's so magical and beautiful.
Haven't. I haven't been to it. In a way, I have one currently because in the book club that I'm at, we're all women and we're all like minded. It's like, but we're kind of like connecting over books like, more than anything else. But it's still like really nice and like making friends in your 30s is never easy. So being able to make
Right.
friends with these people is just nice in general.
Yeah.
So I think that is the thing. Actually, we're starting a D&D campaign, and my husband's going to be the DM. So all of us are going to do that. And we're starting this weekend. So that'll be fun.
All the women from the book club?
Yeah.
Cool. Oh my gosh. That sounds fun. Yeah.
And before, like, currently, like, my husband and I just play with our kids, but they're 5 and 6. A lot of it is just us doing it for them, and they're like, it's okay. It's not like how it would be with adults. It would be nice to actually play with adults.
Right. Oh man. I've always wanted to try D&D. I've never gotten an opportunity to, but it looks like so much fun.
It is. And it's like you can be whoever you want to be, and like the imagination that you can pull into it is so much fun. I'm always a magic user. I love magic, so I was have to be a magic user.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have, I feel like most people have like little figurines that they'll paint or create.
We don't have those yet. We're going to get them, but they're really expensive. Because yeah, they can if you want. Some of them can be up to $50 if you want them to already be painted for you, and even like the ones that aren't painted, they're still a pretty decent price because of like just I don't know why, but they are. So I have just found some that are like used. So we're gonna get some of those and just make them our own in that way.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever works. It's fun to just make it. Yeah.
Yeah. But is there any women's circles? What's your biggest focus?
Let's see. So we've done kind of a different theme for each season. So the first circle we did was related to healing sister wounds. So basically, like the idea that women have evolved to be in community with each other and to take care of each other. And In modern times, the average woman is isolated and doesn't have that community with other women. And aside from that, there's a lot of societal conditioning and push to be in competition with other women. So that's what we were focusing on the first time. This last time, we did it near the winter solstice and we had a labyrinth walk, which was really fun. We did like a bird ritual and a fire pit outside. Yeah, just really beautiful. I think mostly the theme is just creating a space where women can share and be listened to and hold space for other women. Because I think that's something that we don't really get the opportunity to do in modern life.
Yeah, that's so important. You're so right. Because women are put against each other so much nowadays. Like there's a bigger push for the more sisterhood thing. Like a lot of the small businesses in my community, at least, we lift each other up and like we support each other as much as we can, which is amazing. And I love like that's happening too. And I love that you're creating that space for like women to be like, no, like competition is like not happening here. If we're rooting for everyone, it's time to heal and just bring it all back together. Do you guys like to add any sort of like, rituals or elements that you like release the wounds to?
Yeah, so we did the burn ritual this last time. We were loosely following a pagan ritual that kind of works with the 12 nights of Christmas. Or 12 nights of the winter solstice. And the idea is like you're supposed to write down 12 things you'd like to bring into the new year. And then each night you sit with that and then you burn it. And then the 12th night is the one that's your responsibility to help bring into your life for the new year. So we did something similarly adapted from that. And we took turns burning what we're wanting to bring into the new year and releasing it. And it was nice.
Very cool. So did you meet each of the 12 nights?
Sorry, say again.
Did you meet each of those 12 nights to do it or were
No, we met the one night. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, for planning sake. Yeah.
That makes sense. It's logistically like you get confusing.
Yeah.
So you don't mind me asking, what is something that you want to bring into this new year?
I don't really remember what I wrote on those pieces of paper, but I can tell you the one that's my responsibility is joy. And for me, that means I think one thing I know about myself is I can get into these spaces where I'm like hyper focused on my goals or my career or my friends or a relationship. And sometimes I don't prioritize just joy for the sake of joy. And I think that's super important. So that was one thing I wrote down, and that was my last piece of paper. So that is my responsibility this year.
Very cool. What is like your reminder to keep the joy as like your main focus?
I don't know that I had necessarily a reminder. That's probably a good idea. But I am trying to make more of a conscious effort to engage in and plan things that are just for the sake of joy, like no cherished outcome at the end, just enjoying whatever it is just for the sake of it.
Very cool. So just actually being in the moment with things instead of kind of like working towards getting a certain number of clients or getting like this particular outcome that you just can be here in vibe.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't know if that's something that you feel like is difficult for you too.
I get so focused on like work or then I'm not working, I work with kids. And it's just like, you just need to be in the moment with things.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a lot of science behind why it's, like, healthy for us. We'll go back all roads lead back to the vagus nerve or the nervous system, but there's so much science that shows, like, it's good for us, it's healthy for us to have fun and be joyful and experience the best parts of life.
Yeah. I'm like, I've been trying to break away from like the typical hustle culture of the American society that we most live in. And because it just makes so much stress and the stress on the body, then just like it creates all these other issues. And I already have like my own health issues that I've been dealing with that I don't want to have other things caused because of extra stress. So
Yeah.
find and enjoy is a really good reminder.
I think I saw something recently that said 1 out of every 3 women end up having some sort of chronic illness by the time they're like in their 30s.
Yeah. And it's crazy. And because I think it's a combination of the stress, like the hustle culture of here, our diet is crap because everything is put into it. And just the constant overall strain on our bodies, it starts attacking it. That's why I saw a research study, don't remember what it was, but more women have autoimmune diseases than men
I believe that. Yeah.
because there's so much internalization of traumas and like all the other things that that just come onto us versus like men, because they're more external expressors. Not all of them, but most of them are external expressors, so they can get that tension out a
Mhm.
little bit more.
Yeah. So much pressure on women to do everything, be everything. And eventually the body like refuses and rebels. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Like I have so many women on my caseload that have some form of an autoimmune issue or other chronic health concern. And they tell me all the troubles that they've been through. I'm like, you just listed all the causes of what you're having right now. And they look at me like, what? I'm like, yes, all of this caused this. And they're
Yeah.
like, oh crap. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so funny. That's definitely a theme that I see in my case, though, too. The women who feel like they need to be doing everything and taking on all of the responsibilities for everyone and overextending themselves and have a history of that are the ones that are more sick or chronically ill.
What's like your biggest tip for them to help them kind of release those things?
With a lot of those women, and they're all women actually, and I don't just see women, but all the people that I'm thinking about that fit into that category are women. And a lot of the things that I'm working on with them is saying no. Which is so difficult. It's an Olympic event, really, for a lot of people, and I am one of those people. It's been a long process myself learning how to say no, but that's one thing that we work on together, but also more somatic practices and techniques for regulating the nervous system.
Your biggest, or like, it's maybe favorite somatic move that you teach people to help release those things for relation.
Oh yeah. My go-to is this like nice vagus nerve stretch. And I get them really in their body, connected to their breath. And then I'll speed it up just for the sake of therapy. But basically all it is just like bringing your right ear to your right shoulder and just like breathing really deeply and just allowing gravity to do the work. Like no forcing, no pushing, no pulling, just allowing sort of the muscles of the neck to just relax and the shoulders to relax. I'll usually guide them through. And then we'll do the other side. And then I'll have them do chin to chest. Oh, see, I'm cracking already. Like it feels so good.
Oh, that felt good.
Yeah. I love doing that right before bedtime. I find that it helps me get really nice, deep sleep.
That did feel really good. And I've been meaning to go to the chiropractor for a while, but it's not fell strictly.
Yeah, that's definitely my favorite.
So cool. Well, not to me though, saying no is like the hardest thing too, especially if someone's been like in a trauma response for so long, or like they become like the people pleasers. And saying no is an instant like gut response. Oh my gosh, if I say no, someone's gonna get mad at me, something bad's gonna happen. And kind of work through that is a big challenge.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes a good practice for that is just say no, like in during your day. It doesn't have to be to anyone else, but just practicing saying the word no and allowing yourself to hear yourself say no. It can be like a nice first step to ease yourself into feeling more comfortable saying no to other people.
What's the catalyst for you to be like more willing to say no to things?
What was that first thing you said?
With the catalyst, what is the thing where like you overseeing yourself so much, you're like, I can't do this anymore.
So I also have a chronic illness. My body lets me know. I feel I think you mentioned you also deal with chronic illness, that feeling when you know that your body is starting to fight a flare up and you're like, oh, okay, I am being way too rough with my body right now. I need to just take a break. So yeah, that feeling of like tension, tightness, like my body is trying to fight something off. That's the sensation I feel where I know, okay, I need to take a break. Need to chill out a little bit, sit the F down.
You have to like, you're almost like going to burnout, like pre burnout before you start saying no.
Yeah, it's definitely a practice and a process. I like to think it's probably one I'll continue to do for the rest of my life, just like refining, tuning, learning how to say no. Because I think this is another thing I see a lot with my clients is when you're first learning how to set your boundaries and say no, sometimes you can overcorrect and be a little too rigid in your boundaries with others or isolate too much in order to protect yourself. So I think it's a lifelong process almost learning how to like tune and refine to get yourself to the place that you feel is reasonable.
Knowing like what is like your hard and fast, like I'm not going to put on this. Kind of like more, this is like where I don't want to go, but I can bend a little bit here and there for certain things.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know that I have a hard and fast rule for that. One thing I think that's been helpful for me to integrate is asking for requesting more time to give an answer. Like, for example, if someone is requesting my presence somewhere at an event and I'm on the fence about whether or not I feel like I have enough time or energy or health to go, I'll say, is it okay? I'm not quite sure if I'll be available. Is it okay if I let you know on this date to give myself more time to answer? Because the guilt of saying yes at first and then bailing can be rough for me. So I try my best to be a little more cognizant of that by asking for a little more time.
It's awesome. And I think all people can implement that too, because like in the moment, you're like, hey, I can see myself doing that. Or like, kind of, or like the words you watch about it. Be like, give me like a week to look at my calendar, see what's going on, and I'll get back to you. And you're not saying no right away, but you're also not saying yes. So
Yeah.
then, and that's really cool. He's taking like a real seal for where you're going to be in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And explaining where you're at can go a long way too. Just saying to your friend or whoever's giving the invite to you, I'm not feeling the best this week and I might need a little more time. Or is it okay if I let you know, like game time decision? Cause this is where I'm at. Just being honest about what you're feeling and where you're at can go a long way, I think.
You feel like people in your life are a little bit more understanding of where you like, really need more time.
Yeah, I think I'm very blessed to have people in my life that are pretty understanding of that. But also, if you're not giving them information, they can't read your mind. It's a good lesson or a good practice to just share openly about what's happening for you so others can understand.
Yeah, I should divulge like every detail if you don't want to, but giving them enough context to know, oh, this is what's going on. It's why she's not responding right away, or she's saying no to this thing. It's not because she doesn't like me anymore. It's because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's so cool because a lot of people can feel ghosted or feel dismissed if, if because a lot of people do have chronic illnesses and they can't show up to things. But if no one knows, because not everything is like in your face, right? If someone is like has a broken leg or they're in a wheelchair or like something like it's kind of in your face. But the more
Yes.
internal things, like you can't see what's going on.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. And that can also be super isolating for someone who's dealing with chronic illness because it's not something that everyone can see. So on the surface, you appear to be fine. You might be dealing with something that, like I said, no one can see.
yeah, I was like a big fan of it, and I feel this a lot with my clients. Like open communication is key to any relationship, romantic or otherwise. If you can't speak clearly, tell people what's going on, then there's going to be issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's one of the hardest things too to become better at as well, I'd say, especially working with people who have childhood trauma, because a lot of people were taught that their voice doesn't really matter or it should be silenced for the betterment of everyone else. I like to do an exercise with clients who are wanting to do inner child work or or have a history of childhood trauma. And I call it unspoken rules. And I explain it like the brain is a glorified computer. And when you are younger, it is sort of giving extra attention and prioritization to what it thinks are important aspects of your life and your environment. And then your brain is building all of those neural networks to keep that information ready for you to pull out when you need it. So if we're thinking about it that way, what might be some like programs that are running in your computer brain that might be running in the background that we're not aware of? And it's really interesting what comes up in these sessions. One of the most common ones are like children should be seen, not heard, but there's some really interesting ones that come out too. And I think it creates a really good foundation for inner child work.
That is so true. And there are like a lot of like unspoken things that happen below the surface that people aren't always like aware of. Is if they're really, really little, it's not like numbers that you can like easily recall.
Yeah.
Like my kids, like I said, like they're 5 and 3. And they'll ask you questions like, "What did Grandpa do with you?" Whenever you're like, I don't remember. Like, I got I'm watching my daughter right now, and she's like, what did Grandpa do with you?" I'm like, I don't know. Like for so long ago.
Yeah. It's interesting how the brain like keeps those pieces of information like really tucked away sometimes. Yeah, like for example, if whenever you cried as a young kid and you went to dad, but dad never really wanted to hear your problems or pushed you away, you might have internalized that my feelings don't matter or I shouldn't go to dad when I need help or something like that. And it's interesting to do inner child work and trauma work with people who had childhood trauma because I always like to share generally in doing this work, people are like, my childhood doesn't feel like it was that bad. And I like to share as a you're looking at that experience through an adult brain and the lens of an adult brain who can understand nuance, who can understand like inflections and tones and a child's brain isn't developed for that yet. It's only developed to understand what feels good, what feels safe. Yeah.
It is very true. Like, yeah, you look back, like, oh, like I had X, Y, and Z. None of these bad things happened to me. But then you're like, you said in the gritty, okay, so how was I tuned to emotionally? Like,
Mhm.
given the space to express my opinions, was I given the ability to have control over certain things? And a lot of times, kids don't have that ability to do that. And there's certain things obviously they can't have control over. You don't go on the road, like things are for safety, but other things that might like see as adults, but can be huge for kids. Like not even having control over what they eat
Yes.
could be like a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And all parents try their best. And oftentimes, like they're working with the framework that they learned from their parents and their parents' parents. And it's all trickling down through the generations.
That's very true. And like having kids definitely brings up some of your own past stuff that you might not have remembered happening to, to yourself. And so, okay,
Yep. Yeah.
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 How many of your clients are like parents themselves?
I'd say a majority of my clients are parents. I think I probably only have a couple that are not parents.
Do you feel like they're harder on themselves when they're doing the work because they don't want their kids to have what they did?
I think a lot of my clients come to do the work because they're afraid of passing on those like generational traumas or curses, however you'd like to say it. But yeah, I think that's fair to say. Yeah.
Yeah. It's something like, so when you're thinking, you're like, oh, I don't want X, Y, and Z for my kids, or eventually if things get brought up, they're like, oh, how can I heal from this? How can I stop this from happening again?
Yeah. And spending time with young children, whether they're yours or not, is a great, like you said, it's great insight into what you experienced as a child, but also I think gives you an opportunity to start reparenting your own inner child. When we're caring for children, we go to extreme lengths like we'll pack a bag for an adventure with snacks, with books. We go to great lengths to create magic for young children. And sometimes it's nice to start doing that for yourself again. I talk a lot about that a lot with my clients and just reparenting that inner child, like having a compassionate inner dialogue through the lens of a nurturing, wise parent that can speak directly to that inner child.
Excellent. And I have a book that I like to use. It's called Growing Up Again that I'll pull out and I'll has different things to do for yourself at each stage of development.
That's really cool.
It was a recommendation from my EMDR supervisor whenever I was getting my certification. She like
Mhm.
recommended it to me. It's not like even it goes all the way back to pre-verbal and like in utero traumas where I've had to start with 90% of my clients.
Yeah.
And then you like, just have to move up
Yeah.
to where they're currently.
I find that also interesting. I'm not very well versed in like the work in that particular era, but I absolutely believe in its importance.
Yeah. I've had some clients that have had addicted mothers that had used substances either right before they like a little bit into their first trimester or even like after they were born and like that impact or even like this a mother that was in a DV situation that all impacts everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just the mother's emotional feeling tones throughout the pregnancy, what they're going through. Yeah. That absolutely has got to affect the baby.
So then amazing. Thank you so much for joining me. Are there any tips or tricks that you want to leave for everyone before we end?
I think the biggest nerve stretch would be my one thing that I would recommend. Yeah, I don't necessarily know off the top of my head if I have anything else.
How do you prefer people to find you if they want to learn more about you or get in touch with you?
Yeah, so people can find me on Instagram where I'll share more information about the work that I do. And they can also follow the community space if they're in Richmond for events, all highly accessible. And I think that's about it.
All of your links will be in the descriptions below the video as well, so people can have easy access to all your links. But this has been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.